Police harass black judge thinking he's a criminal. They're stunned when he reveals who. In the heart of a bustling metropolis, where the cacophony of urban life mingles with the solemnity of the judicial system, Judge Marcus Lewis occupies a unique and powerful position. The sprawling cityscape serves as both a backdrop and a character in its own right, teeming with diverse cultures and communities. As the sun rises over the skyline, casting a golden hue on the glass buildings, Marcus begins his day with a routine that has become second nature to him, a blend of discipline, reflection, and dedication to the law. Before we can continue, if you love your family, subscribe to this channel to help up creating amazing stories. Now, let's continue. His mornings start early, well before the city fully awakens. Marcus rises at dawn, his body accustomed to the rhythm of early rising. The first rays of sunlight creep through the curtains, illuminating the modest yet elegant decor of his apartment. A faint aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafts through the air, filling the space with warmth. He approaches his well-worn coffee maker, selecting his favorite blend, a rich dark roast that ignites his senses and prepares him for the day ahead. As the coffee brews, he takes a moment to gaze out the window, observing the world outside. Cars streaming by, joggers making their way through the nearby park, and the occasional dog walker greeting the morning. It's a familiar scene, yet each day offers a unique glimpse into the vibrant life of the city. After pouring himself a steaming cup, Marcus retreats to his small home office, where the walls are adorned with framed photographs, certificates, and mementos that chronicle his journey. Each item tells a story: his college diploma, his first appointment as a judge, a photograph with community leaders at a charity event. He takes a moment to reflect on the path that has led him to this point, filled with triumphs and trials, a path marked by hard work and resilience. Growing up in a challenging neighborhood, Marcus was no stranger to adversity. The echoes of his childhood resonate in his heart: his mother's tireless efforts to provide for their family, the sacrifices she made to ensure he had access to education, and the lessons learned from his father, a community activist who instilled in him the importance of justice and equality. With a determined spirit, he opens his laptop and begins reviewing the cases scheduled for the day. Each case represents a story, stories of people seeking justice, individuals whose lives are entwined with the very fabric of the community. Marcus takes his role seriously. He understands that the decisions he makes in the courtroom can alter the course of lives. He meticulously examines the briefs, noting key arguments and evidence, preparing himself to be a fair and impartial judge. He believes that every individual, regardless of their background, deserves to be heard and respected in the eyes of the law. This commitment fuels his passion for the judicial system, even as he acknowledges its flaws and limitations. As the clock ticks closer to the start of the court session, Marcus dons his robe, a symbolic garment that represents not just his authority, but also his responsibility to uphold justice. Looking in the mirror, he adjusts the collar, taking a moment to collect his thoughts. Today, he feels a mix of anticipation and trepidation. The courtroom can be an unpredictable arena, filled with emotions, conflicts, and the weight of human experience. He knows that he must navigate these challenges with grace and integrity, always striving to be the voice of reason in a system that can sometimes feel chaotic. When he arrives at the courthouse, the atmosphere shifts. The heavy wooden doors swing open to reveal a space that commands respect, a grand room with high ceilings, adorned with intricate moldings and historical portraits of esteemed judges who have come before him. The air is thick with anticipation as attorneys, defendants, and witnesses bustle about, each with their own hopes and fears. Marcus walks with purpose down the corridor, exchanging nods and greetings with familiar faces, court clerks, bailiffs, and fellow judges who have come to respect his work ethic and his unwavering commitment to justice. As he takes his seat on the bench, he surveys the room, assessing the various players in this intricate legal dance. He notes the anxiety etched on the faces of defendants waiting for their fate, the determination in the eyes of prosecutors eager to present their cases, and the quiet resilience of defense attorneys advocating for their clients. It is a microcosm of society, a reflection of the complexities that exist within it. Marcus's heart aches for those who have been wronged, and he reminds himself of his role as an arbiter of truth, someone who can influence lives in meaningful ways. The court session begins, and the gavel strikes, signaling the start of proceedings. As the cases unfold, Marcus listens intently, taking notes and engaging with the arguments presented before him. Each case reveals the intricacies of the human condition, the desperation of a young man facing a drug charge, the anguish of a victim seeking justice for a violent crime, the hope of a family fighting against systemic inequities. Marcus approaches each case with empathy, understanding that behind every legal matter lies a person with a story, a life filled with aspirations and fears. Despite the weight of his responsibilities, Marcus finds solace in his evenings. After the day's proceedings conclude, he returns home, shedding the formalities of his judicial role and embracing the warmth of family life. His wife, Angela, greets him with a smile, her presence a comforting reminder of the support system that grounds him. Their home, filled with laughter and love, stands in stark contrast to the often somber environment of the courtroom. Together, they navigate the challenges of daily life, sharing stories about their days, discussing the ups and downs of their respective careers, and cherishing the quiet moments that make life meaningful. Yet, even in these moments of tranquility, Marcus is not free from the shadows of the world outside. News reports flood in with stories of police brutality and racial injustice, igniting a fire of anger and frustration within him. As a Black judge, he is acutely aware of the complexities of his identity. He grapples with the duality of his existence, respected in one realm while marginalized in another. Each headline serves as a painful reminder that despite his achievements, he cannot escape the societal biases that permeate the justice system he works within. He often reflects on his journey, his rise from the streets to the bench, a path marked by determination and resilience. He recalls the moments of self-doubt, the times when he felt like an imposter in a world that often viewed him as less than worthy. Yet, he persevered, driven by a deep-rooted desire to effect change and to be a voice for those who felt silenced. As he sips his coffee, he resolves to continue fighting for justice, not just within the confines of his courtroom, but also in the larger community. In the evenings, he dedicates time to his personal projects, often involving community outreach and advocacy. He collaborates with local organizations focused on education, mentorship, and social justice, aiming to empower the next generation. Marcus believes that true change begins at the grassroots level, and he is committed to nurturing relationships within the community. He often speaks at schools, sharing his story and encouraging young people to pursue their dreams, despite the obstacles they may face. It is his way of giving back, of honoring the struggles of those who paved the way for him. However, as he becomes more involved in activism, Marcus begins to feel the weight of his dual roles. The pressure mounts as he navigates the challenges of being a judge while advocating for systemic change. He finds himself torn between the expectations of his profession and the passion that drives him to speak out against injustice. This internal conflict becomes increasingly palpable, and he realizes that he must confront these complexities head-on. As the weeks pass, the dichotomy between his professional life and personal beliefs becomes harder to reconcile. The conversations surrounding racial injustice and police violence grow louder, and Marcus feels the need to engage more deeply. He contemplates organizing community forums to discuss these pressing issues, to provide a space for dialogue between law enforcement and the communities they serve. He believes that fostering understanding is crucial in bridging the gap between these two worlds. This desire for change ignites a spark within him, a calling to take a stand against the injustices that plague the system he has devoted his life to serving. He begins drafting a plan for a community event, envisioning a gathering where citizens can voice their concerns, share their experiences, and engage in constructive dialogue with local law enforcement. This vision feels ambitious, but he knows it is necessary. As he embarks on this new initiative, Marcus feels a sense of purpose that transcends his role as a judge. He understands that change requires not only a commitment to justice within the courtroom, but also a willingness to confront the biases that exist beyond its walls. He reflects on the powerful potential of community engagement, recognizing that when people come together to share their stories and experiences, they can inspire change. In the quiet moments of the night, as he sits on his balcony watching the city lights flicker against the dark sky, Marcus knows that he is standing at a crossroads. The comfort of his established routine is juxtaposed with the urgent call to action that resonates within him. He understands that he cannot remain passive in the face of injustice. The weight of his position as a judge carries with it the responsibility to advocate for those whose voices have been silenced. Ultimately, the judge's routine is not just about the cases he presides over or the decisions he makes in the courtroom. It is about the larger narrative of justice, equity, and humanity that he seeks to uphold. As he contemplates the days ahead, he resolves to embrace this new chapter with courage and conviction, fully aware that the journey ahead will be fraught with challenges and risks. Yet he is determined to forge a. As Judge Marcus Lewis navigates the complexities of his daily routine, a growing sense of unease lingers in the back of his mind. The weight of his responsibilities extends beyond the courtroom. It echoes in the broader community he serves. Despite his accomplishments and the respect he has earned, he cannot shake the feeling that something is fundamentally broken within the justice system. The disparities he witnesses daily, the racial biases, the socioeconomic inequities, are a constant reminder of the challenges that still lie ahead. Marcus's heart is heavy with the knowledge that the very system designed to protect and serve can often fail the most vulnerable. He recalls a recent case that serves as a poignant example. A young Black man, caught in the crosshairs of a police stop that escalated into violence, found himself facing serious charges. The man was unarmed and had no prior convictions, yet he was treated as if he were a criminal. The stark contrast between his treatment and that of his white counterparts infuriated Marcus. This case is not just an isolated incident. It is part of a troubling pattern that has persisted for decades. As Marcus sits in his office, the weight of his role presses down on him. He ponders the statistics that have become all too familiar: disproportionate arrest rates for people of color, higher sentences for similar crimes, and the pervasive mistrust between law enforcement and communities of color. Each number represents a life impacted by systemic failures, and each story he hears in the courtroom only deepens his conviction that change is necessary. The more he reflects, the more he realizes that his position as a judge offers him a unique platform to advocate for reform. Yet, he grapples with the complexities of his role. How can he effect change from within a system that often resists it? The judicial branch, while designed to uphold justice, can sometimes become an obstacle to progress. Here calls a conversation with a fellow judge who voiced skepticism about the possibility of meaningful change. "The system is too entrenched," his colleague had said, shaking his head. "We can make small adjustments, but the real problems lie beyond our reach." Those words echo in Marcus's mind as he considers the limitations of his position. Amidst his internal struggle, an incident occurs that serves as a catalyst for his desire to take action. One afternoon, as he leaves the courthouse, Marcus encounters a group of community activists gathered outside. They're holding signs, chanting slogans, and demanding justice for victims of police violence. The sight is both invigorating and troubling. He admires their passion but also feels a pang of guilt for not being more vocal in his support. After all, he is a judge, an authority figure whose voice carries weight. As he steps closer, he overhears snippets of conversation that resonate with him. One young woman, her face a mixture of anger and determination, speaks passionately about her brother, who was wrongfully arrested and beaten by police. "We are not criminals," she shouts. "We are mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers. Human beings who deserve to be treated with dignity." Her words strike a chord deep within Marcus, igniting a fire in his heart. He knows he cannot remain an observer any longer. The time has come for him to use his position to advocate for those whose voices have been silenced. This moment becomes a turning point for Marcus. He feels compelled to approach the group, to engage with them and listen to their stories. He introduces himself as a judge, and the reaction is immediate, a mixture of surprise and skepticism. They are not accustomed to seeing someone in his position standing with them. The young woman he spoke to earlier, now a bit more composed, introduces herself as Jasmine, a community organizer. She looks at him intently, as if trying to gauge his sincerity. "What are you going to do about it?" she asks, her eyes piercing through the facade of authority. Marcus takes a deep breath, knowing that his response carries weight. "I want to help," he says earnestly. "I want to understand the issues you're facing, and I want to work together to create change." Jasmine studies him for a moment before nodding, recognizing the sincerity in his voice. She invites him to a community meeting that evening, where residents will discuss their concerns and brainstorm solutions. Marcus accepts the invitation, a mix of excitement and apprehension swelling within him. That evening, Marcus finds himself in a neighborhood community center, the walls adorned with vibrant murals that reflect the culture and struggles of the community. As he enters, he is met with curious glances and murmurs. The atmosphere is charged with energy, a collective yearning for justice and reform. The room fills with diverse voices, each sharing personal experiences of discrimination and injustice. As they speak, Marcus listens intently, taking notes and absorbing their stories. One man recounts his experience of being stopped by police for looking suspicious, despite being on his way home from work. Another woman shares how her son, a bright student, was unfairly targeted and expelled from school due to a minor infraction that had been overlooked in the case of his white classmates. The stories weave a narrative of frustration, pain, and resilience. It becomes clear to Marcus that these individuals are not just fighting for themselves, they are fighting for their families, their communities, and future generations. As the meeting progresses, Marcus finds himself moved by their passion and commitment. He shares his own experiences as a judge, emphasizing his desire to understand the issues from their perspective. He acknowledges the systemic biases that plague the judicial system and expresses his determination to be a voice for change. The group listens intently, and slowly, a sense of trust begins to develop. They begin to see him not just as a judge, but as an ally, someone who is willing to advocate for justice and equity. The discussions lead to brainstorming sessions where attendees propose various initiatives, community outreach programs, workshops on legal rights, and collaborative efforts with law enforcement to improve relations. Marcus is struck by the creativity and determination of the participants. They possess a wealth of knowledge and insights that can only come from lived experiences. Inspired, he encourages them to share their ideas, emphasizing that they have the power to drive change from the grassroots level. After the meeting, Jasmine approaches Marcus, her expression a blend of gratitude and hope. "Thank you for being here tonight," she says. "It means a lot to know that someone in your position cares." Her words resonate deeply with Marcus. He realizes that this is just the beginning of a long journey, one that will require courage, collaboration, and a commitment to justice. In the following weeks, Marcus immerses himself in community outreach efforts. He attends more meetings, collaborates with local organizations, and listens to the concerns of residents. The relationships he builds with community leaders deepen his understanding of the systemic issues at play. He becomes increasingly aware of the disparities in education, housing, and employment that perpetuate cycles of poverty and marginalization. The statistics he once reviewed in his office now come to life through the stories of individuals striving for a better future. Driven by this newfound perspective, Marcus begins to formulate a plan, a proposal for a community forum where residents can voice their concerns and engage in constructive dialogue with law enforcement. He believes that open communication is essential for rebuilding trust and fostering a sense of accountability. However, he knows that the path forward will not be without challenges. As he prepares for the forum, Marcus faces pushback from some colleagues who view his activism as a potential threat to the judicial system's neutrality. "You have to be careful, Marcus," one judge warns him. "You don't want to jeopardize your position or reputation." Their words weigh heavily on him, forcing him to confront the risks associated with his newfound advocacy. However, he remains undeterred. The importance of addressing the issues at hand far outweighs his concerns about reputation. As the date of the forum approaches, the anticipation in the community builds. Flyers are distributed, social media campaigns launch, and residents express their eagerness to participate. Marcus feels a mix of excitement and nervousness. He knows that this event has the potential to be a turning point, a moment where voices are amplified and change can take root. On the day of the forum, the community center fills with eager attendees. The air is electric with anticipation, and Marcus can sense the urgency in the room. As he steps onto the stage, he is greeted with a mixture of applause and skepticism. He knows that trust is something that must be earned, and he is determined to prove his commitment to the community. Marcus begins by acknowledging the painful history that has shaped the relationship between law enforcement and communities of color. He shares statistics, personal anecdotes, and stories from the meetings he has attended, emphasizing that these issues are not merely abstract concepts but real lives affected by systemic injustices. As he speaks, he can feel the room shift, the collective tension morphing into a shared sense of purpose. As the forum progresses, attendees take the microphone to share their stories, each one contributing to a tapestry of experiences that highlight the urgent need for change. The conversations flow, filled with passionate pleas for accountability, reform, and healing. Marcus facilitates the discussions, encouraging dialogue between community members and law enforcement representatives who have also joined the event. In a pivotal moment, a police officer stands up to address the crowd. The room falls silent as everyone turns their attention to him. "I know that trust has been broken," he begins, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "But I'm here to listen. We want to understand and change how we operate." The response is mixed, a blend of skepticism and hope. Marcus watches closely as the officer continues, urging. The days following the community forum are a whirlwind for Judge Marcus Lewis. He feels an exhilarating mix of hope and trepidation as he steps deeper into the realm of community activism, an arena far removed from the familiar confines of his courtroom. Each step he takes is filled with anticipation and uncertainty. He understands that this new journey requires him to engage with the very people he aims to serve in a more direct, personal manner. For a man who has spent years in the structured environment of law, the unpredictable nature of grassroots activism poses a significant challenge. As Marcus attends his first community meeting post-forum, he is struck by the palpable energy in the room. The air buzzes with ideas and emotions as residents come together to discuss the issues they face daily. He finds himself seated at a long table surrounded by a diverse group of individuals, each representing different perspectives and experiences. Jasmine, the community organizer who first reached out to him, sits across from him, her enthusiasm infectious as she introduces him to the others present. "Everyone, this is Judge Lewis," she announces, her voice filled with warmth. "He's been working with us to help amplify our voices." There's a mix of curiosity and skepticism among the attendees, and Marcus can feel their eyes scrutinizing him. In their minds, he represents the judicial system, an institution that has often failed them. He knows that earning their trust will take time and genuine effort. As the meeting commences, Marcus listens intently, absorbing the concerns and frustrations expressed by community members. The issues discussed range from police brutality to inadequate educational resources and housing insecurity. Each voice carries weight, each story a testament to the struggles faced by the community. Marcus feels a sense of urgency building within him. The stories resonate with the statistics he had analyzed in his office, but now take on a more profound meaning. The impact of systemic inequities is not just theoretical, it is deeply personal for these individuals. During the meeting, a young man named David stands up to share his story. His voice trembles slightly, revealing the emotional toll of his experiences. "I've been stopped by police more times than I can count," he states, his words laced with frustration. "Each time, it's the same story. I'm just walking home, and suddenly I'm treated like a criminal." It's exhausting. As David speaks, Marcus's heart aches for him. He sees the toll this constant scrutiny takes on his mental and emotional well-being. After David finishes, Marcus leans forward, eager to offer support. "I want to hear more about your experiences, David. It's crucial that we understand how these interactions affect your life and the lives of others in the community," he replies, attempting to validate David's feelings. The young man nods appreciatively, encouraged by the judge's willingness to listen. As the meeting progresses, Marcus finds himself engaging in discussions that challenge his perceptions. He discovers the complexities of community dynamics, how fear and mistrust of law enforcement have created barriers to open communication. The frustrations are compounded by the sense of helplessness many residents feel. They have witnessed promises of change before, only to see little to no progress. Marcus realizes that mere acknowledgement of their struggles is not enough. He must actively work to create tangible solutions. The next few weeks see Marcus diving headfirst into the unfamiliar world of community activism. He attends rallies, educational workshops, and local events aimed at raising awareness about social justice issues. Each event exposes him to new ideas and perspectives. He begins to understand the importance of coalition building and the need for allies in the fight for justice. His role shifts from a detached observer to an engaged participant, and he begins to see the potential for real change when diverse voices unite. However, this journey is not without its challenges. Marcus encounters resistance from some members of the community who remain skeptical of his intentions. "You're just a judge," one woman says during a particularly heated discussion. "What do you really know about our struggles?" Her words sting, but Marcus knows that they stem from years of disappointment and betrayal by a system that has often overlooked their needs. He takes a deep breath, recognizing that he cannot take their skepticism personally. He must earn their trust through consistent action and understanding. To bridge this gap, Marcus decides to engage in outreach efforts beyond the confines of formal meetings. He begins visiting neighborhoods, stopping by local barbershops, churches, and community centers to talk with residents one-on-one. He understands that personal connections are crucial in building rapport. During one of these visits, he meets an elderly woman named Mrs. Johnson, who shares her experiences growing up in a segregated community. Her stories are rich with history, filled with resilience and perseverance. "Young man, I've seen a lot in my time," she tells him, her eyes gleaming with wisdom. "This system has been broken for so long, and it won't change overnight. But it starts with people like you being willing to listen and fight for what's right." Her words resonate deeply within him, reinforcing his determination to push for reform. With each interaction, Marcus gathers insights that inform his understanding of the community's needs. He learns about the disparities in education, healthcare access, and employment opportunities that plague the area. He realizes that the issues are interconnected and that meaningful change will require a holistic approach. Marcus begins collaborating with local organizations to develop programs aimed at addressing these systemic inequities. One of his first initiatives is to organize a youth mentorship program that pairs young people with professionals in the community. He envisions a space where students can receive guidance and support, helping them navigate their educational journeys. Marcus is inspired by the resilience of the youth he meets, bright, ambitious individuals yearning for opportunities. During a brainstorming session, one young woman named Aisha stands up and says, "We need to know that we matter and that our dreams are valid." Her words strike a chord, solidifying Marcus's commitment to empowering the next generation. As he works to implement the mentorship program, Marcus encounters bureaucratic hurdles that test his resolve. Navigating the intricacies of local government can be frustrating, and he finds himself at times feeling like an outsider. However, he remains undeterred, motivated by the impact this program could have on young lives. Each setback only reinforces his commitment to seeing it through. Through collaboration with educators, community leaders, and parents, Marcus finally secures the necessary approvals to launch the program. The first mentorship event draws a diverse group of mentors and ments, filling the community center with excitement. As Marcus stands before the gathering, he feels a surge of pride at what they have accomplished together. "Today, we are not just starting a program, we are creating a community of support and empowerment," he says, his voice steady and filled with conviction. "Each of you has the potential to inspire change, and together, we can break down the barriers that have held us back for too long." The event unfolds with laughter and camaraderie as mentors and ments engage in meaningful conversations. Marcus walks around the room, listening to their exchanges and witnessing the connections forming before his eyes. It is a moment of triumph, a testament to the power of community. However, he also knows that this is just the beginning. The work ahead will require sustained effort and dedication. As Marcus continues to immerse himself in community life, he finds himself grappling with the emotional toll of his new role. He feels a growing responsibility to advocate for those whose voices have been silenced, yet he is acutely aware of the risks associated with his involvement. The more he engages with the community, the more he exposes himself to the realities of their struggles. He hears stories of loss, pain, and injustice that weigh heavily on his heart. One evening, after a particularly moving meeting where residents shared their personal stories, Marcus returns home feeling drained. He reflects on the challenges he faces as a judge who is now perceived as an ally rather than an authority figure. The journey toward reform is fraught with obstacles, and he knows that not everyone will welcome his efforts. As he sits in silence, he wonders if he is prepared for the backlash that may come from his colleagues within the judicial system. Amidst the uncertainty, Marcus finds solace in the relationships he has built with community members. He realizes that their shared vision for change fuels his passion. It is this connection that drives him to continue his advocacy, even when the path forward seems daunting. As the weeks turn into months, Marcus discovers that the unfamiliar terrain of community activism is not merely a new role, but a calling. He embraces the discomfort of stepping outside his comfort zone, understanding that true progress requires vulnerability and authenticity. This journey challenges him to confront his biases and assumptions, reshaping his understanding of justice. With renewed determination, Marcus attends a local protest aimed at advocating for police accountability. The atmosphere is electric, filled with chants and calls for justice. As he marches alongside community members, he feels a profound sense of unity. The collective energy is contagious, reinforcing his belief in the power of grassroots movements. Yet, even in this moment of solidarity, Marcus is reminded of the risks involved. He receives messages from colleagues warning him to tread carefully, to avoid becoming too entangled in activism. Their concerns weigh heavily on his mind, but he knows that remaining silent is no longer an option. He is ready to embrace the unknown, to forge ahead in his pursuit of justice for the community he has come to love. As the chapter of his life unfolds, Marcus recognizes that this journey will not be easy. However, he is committed to walking alongside the community, listening to their needs, and advocating for change. Armed with newfound knowledge and perspective he is. As Judge Marcus Lewis immerses himself deeper into community activism, he quickly learns that the journey is fraught with challenges. Transitioning from a position of authority in the courtroom to that of a community advocate requires more than just goodwill. It demands resilience, adaptability, and a willingness to confront the uncomfortable truths that pervade the lives of those he seeks to help. The initial enthusiasm he felt is tempered by the reality of systemic barriers and deeply entrenched distrust. One of the first challenges Marcus encounters is the entrenched skepticism within the community. Many residents are wary of his intentions, and some even question his commitment to social justice. During one of his community meetings, a local activist named Tyrese stands up, crossing his arms defiantly. "You're a judge, Marcus. How can we trust you? Your role has always been to uphold the law, and we know how the law has failed us." His words resonate with a mix of frustration and anger, and Marcus feels the weight of Tyrese's skepticism. "I understand why you feel that way, Tyrese," Marcus responds, his voice steady yet empathetic. "But I want to use my position to advocate for real change. I'm here to listen to your experiences and to amplify your voices." His words are met with silence, a mixture of contemplation and doubt hanging in the air. Marcus recognizes that rebuilding trust will be a long process, one that cannot be accomplished overnight. He knows he must prove his sincerity through consistent actions that align with his promises. Over the following weeks, Marcus faces the challenge of balancing his judicial responsibilities with his growing role in the community. He spends long hours at work, reviewing cases and writing opinions, only to find himself attending meetings and events late into the evening. The demands of both worlds begin to weigh heavily on him, and he feels the strain on his personal life as well. His wife, Michelle, notices the toll this duality takes on him. "Marcus, you can't keep running on empty," she tells him one night as they sit at the dinner table. "You're taking on so much, and I worry about how this will affect you." Her concern is palpable, and he feels the warmth of her love, but also the pressure of his responsibilities. He is torn between his commitment to his family and his dedication to the community. "I know, Michelle, but I feel like this is important," he replies, rubbing his temples in frustration. "I can't turn my back on these people. They need someone to fight for them." Michelle nods, understanding his passion but urging him to find a better balance. "Just remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself, too." Her words echo in his mind as he continues to grapple with the demands of his new role. As he navigates this demanding schedule, Marcus faces another significant challenge: the complexities of community dynamics. Each neighborhood he visits has its own unique set of issues and its own history of struggles. While some residents are eager to engage and collaborate, others are less open, harboring deep-seated resentment stemming from years of marginalization and neglect. Marcus realizes that he must approach each interaction with sensitivity and an open mind. One evening, he attends a neighborhood council meeting in a particularly underserved area. As he enters the room, he notices the tension in the air. Residents are visibly frustrated, discussing recent incidents of police brutality and the lack of accountability from local law enforcement. The atmosphere is charged, and Marcus can sense the collective anger. He takes a deep breath, steeling himself for the conversations ahead. When the floor opens for public comment, an elderly woman named Ms. Carter steps forward. Her voice trembles as she recounts the story of her grandson, who was wrongfully arrested during a routine stop and frisk. "He was just walking home from work, and the police treated him like a criminal," she exclaims, tears welling in her eyes. "What are you going to do about it, Judge Lewis?" Her words hit him hard, and he feels the weight of her grief. "I can't change what happened to your grandson, but I want to understand how we can work together to prevent this from happening again," he responds, his voice filled with sincerity. "Your experiences are vital to our efforts for reform." As he speaks, he sees a flicker of hope in Ms. Carter's eyes. It's a small victory, but it reinforces his commitment to listening and learning from the community. In his quest to understand the complexities of community activism, Marcus also realizes the importance of education. He decides to organize workshops that focus on educating residents about their rights and how to navigate interactions with law enforcement. Partnering with local lawyers and activists, he facilitates sessions that empower community members to advocate for themselves. These workshops become a lifeline for residents who often feel powerless in the face of systemic injustice. The first workshop he holds draws a crowd of over 50 people, each eager to learn. Marcus stands before the group, filled with a mix of excitement and nerves. "Thank you all for coming," he begins, his voice resonating with passion. "Today, we're going to discuss your rights during police encounters, and I want to ensure that you leave here feeling empowered and informed." As he speaks, he can see the engagement on their faces, and it fuels his desire to create more opportunities for connection and learning. During the workshop, Marcus covers topics such as the right to remain silent and the importance of documenting encounters with law enforcement. He shares stories from his own experiences on the bench, highlighting the legal protections available to citizens. As the session progresses, attendees ask questions, eager to clarify their understanding. One young woman named Layla raises her hand, her brow furrowed in concern. "But what if they don't listen? What if they just arrest you anyway?" Her question hangs in the air, and Marcus feels the weight of her fear. "That's a valid concern, Layla," he replies, his tone serious yet reassuring. "While it's important to know your rights, I understand that not every encounter goes the way it should. That's why we're also working to hold law enforcement accountable through community engagement and advocacy." His response seems to resonate, and he witnesses a shift in the room. The attendees lean in, hungry for solutions. As he continues to adapt to the challenges of community activism, Marcus begins to forge connections with local organizations. He partners with a nonprofit focused on criminal justice reform, attending meetings and brainstorming strategies to address systemic issues. This collaboration allows him to access resources and build a network of allies committed to change. However, he soon discovers that not all organizations share the same vision, and conflicting priorities pose additional hurdles. At one planning meeting, Marcus is faced with a disagreement over the best approach to tackle police accountability. Some members advocate for radical reforms, while others prefer a more moderate approach. The discussion becomes heated as differing opinions clash, and Marcus finds himself caught in the middle. "We need to demand change, not just ask for it," one activist argues passionately. "We have to work within the system to create meaningful change," another counters, frustration evident in their voice. Marcus tries to mediate the conversation, reminding everyone of their shared goals. "We're all here because we want justice," he interjects. "Let's find common ground and develop a plan that can resonate with our community." His efforts help to ease the tension, but he realizes that finding consensus will be an ongoing challenge. Despite these challenges, Marcus remains steadfast in his resolve. He begins to document the stories and experiences he encounters in the community, recognizing the power of narratives in driving change. He envisions creating a community report that highlights the challenges faced by residents, along with recommendations for policy reform. This report, he believes, could serve as a valuable tool for advocacy, amplifying the voices of those who have been silenced. However, as he embarks on this endeavor, Marcus faces yet another obstacle: time. Balancing his judicial responsibilities, community engagements, and the creation of the report proves overwhelming. Late nights turn into early mornings, and he often finds himself sacrificing sleep to meet deadlines. The toll of his commitments begins to weigh heavily on him, and he starts to notice the strain on his mental health. One evening, after a long day of court hearings followed by community meetings, Marcus collapses onto his couch, exhausted. The weight of his responsibilities presses down on him, and he feels a wave of frustration wash over him. "Am I really making a difference?" he wonders aloud, his voice barely a whisper. Just then, Michelle walks in, sensing his distress. "Marcus, what's going on?" she asks, concern etched on her face. He looks up at her, feeling vulnerable. "I don't know if I can keep up with all of this," he admits, his voice cracking. "I want to help, but it feels like I'm just spinning my wheels." Michelle sits beside him, offering her support. "You're doing important work, but you can't do it all at once. It's okay to ask for help," she reminds him gently. Her words resonate, and Marcus realizes that he needs to lean on his network of allies. He resolves to delegate tasks and seek collaboration, understanding that collective effort will be more effective than going it alone. With this newfound perspective, Marcus reaches out to his contacts within the nonprofit and community organizations. He forms a working group to assist in the creation of the community report, bringing together individuals with expertise in various areas. Together, they brainstorm ideas, share resources, and outline the key themes to address. As the working group develops the report, Marcus is inspired by the collaborative spirit. The energy in the room is infectious, and he feels a renewed sense of purpose. They gather stories from residents, weaving personal narratives into the fabric of the report. Each voice contributes to a collective narrative, illuminating the struggles and resilience of the community. Through this process, Marcus discovers the power of storytelling as a catalyst for change. As the report takes shape, he envisions it as a tool not only for advocacy, but also for fostering understanding between the community and local government. He dreams of presenting it to city officials, urging them to take action based on the lived experiences of residents. As the working group prepares to finalize the report, Marcus faces yet another challenge: navigating the political landscape. He knows that presenting the report to city officials will require careful planning and strategy. The last thing he wants is for the document to be dismissed or ignored. He spends hours researching past interactions between community advocates and local government, seeking insights into effective advocacy strategies. During this process, he recalls a community forum he attended months earlier, where a council member expressed frustration over the lack of communication between residents and elected officials. "We need to bridge that gap," the council member had said. Marcus realizes that part of his role is to create pathways for dialogue. He begins drafting a proposal for a community roundtable discussion where residents can share their experiences directly with city officials. Excited by the prospect, he pitches the idea to his working group. If we can facilitate a dialogue between residents and officials, it could foster understanding and lead to meaningful change, he explains, his enthusiasm infectious. The group agrees, and they begin organizing the logistics for the event, setting a date and inviting key stakeholders. As the day of the roundtable approaches, Marcus feels a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. He knows that this is a pivotal moment for the community, and he hopes it will be a catalyst for change. On the day of the event, he arrives early, setting up the space and preparing materials. As residents filter in, he greets them warmly, encouraging them to share their stories. When the roundtable begins, Marcus takes a deep breath, feeling a rush of emotions. He introduces the purpose of the meeting, emphasizing the importance of open dialogue. As residents share their experiences, he watches as the city officials listen intently, some visibly moved by the stories unfolding before them. Towards the end of the event, one city official stands up, visibly shaken. "I had no idea the depth of the issues you face," he admits, his voice thick with emotion. "We need to do better." The room erupts in applause, a testament to the power of their collective voices. Marcus feels a surge of hope, realizing that they are beginning to break down the barriers that have kept them apart. In the weeks following the roundtable, Marcus and his working group continue to advocate for change. The report is finalized and presented to city officials, who express a commitment to addressing the recommendations. As Marcus reflects on this journey, he understands that while the challenges of community activism are significant, the rewards of creating meaningful connections and driving change far outweigh the obstacles. Through perseverance and collaboration, Judge Marcus Lewis transforms not only his own life, but also the lives of those around him. His experiences highlight the importance of empathy, understanding, and collective action in the pursuit of justice. As he navigates the complexities of community activism, he remains steadfast in his belief that change is possible when individuals come together to amplify their voices and advocate for a brighter future. This expanded section now captures Judge Marcus Lewis's journey in detail, emphasizing the challenges he faces and the strategies he employs to adapt and thrive in his role as a community advocate. If you need any further adjustments or additional sections, feel free to ask. As Judge Marcus Lewis continues to immerse himself in community activism, he recognizes the profound importance of building bridges between disparate groups within the community. His experiences on the bench have taught him that justice is not merely about the law. It is also about understanding the people affected by those laws. He realizes that to effect real change, he must cultivate relationships with a wide range of stakeholders, including community leaders, local government officials, law enforcement, and residents from various backgrounds. Marcus begins this journey by reaching out to local organizations that represent diverse communities, including immigrant groups, low-income neighborhoods, and racial minorities. He attends their meetings and listens to their concerns, eager to understand their perspectives. One evening, he visits a community center serving primarily immigrant families. The atmosphere is warm, filled with laughter and chatter, but there's an undercurrent of tension as families discuss their fears of deportation and discrimination. During the meeting, a woman named Sophia stands up, her voice shaking with emotion. "We came here for a better life, but every day feels like a battle. The fear of being torn from my family is always present," she shares, her eyes filled with tears. Marcus feels a deep empathy for her situation. "Sophia, I hear you. It's not fair that you should live in fear. Together, we can work toward solutions that protect your rights and dignity," he replies, his voice steady. Marcus's commitment to understanding the unique challenges faced by immigrant families deepens as he attends more meetings at the community center. He learns about the barriers they encounter, from navigating the legal system to securing adequate housing and healthcare. He begins to see how these challenges intersect with broader systemic issues, such as racism and economic inequality. This understanding shapes his approach to advocacy, as he seeks to unite these diverse groups under a common goal: justice and equality for all. Recognizing the need for collaboration, Marcus organizes a series of community forums that bring together representatives from various organizations, residents, and local officials. The goal is to create a space for open dialogue, allowing individuals to voice their concerns and work collaboratively toward solutions. He believes that these forums will serve as a platform for building understanding and fostering trust between community members and local authorities. The first forum is set to take place in a local high school auditorium, a central location that is easily accessible to residents. Marcus promotes the event through flyers, social media, and word of mouth, hoping to attract a diverse audience. On the day of the event, he arrives early, setting up chairs and preparing materials. As participants trickle in, he greets them warmly, encouraging conversation among attendees. When the forum begins, Marcus stands before the crowd, filled with a mixture of excitement and nerves. "Thank you all for coming," he starts, his voice resonating with sincerity. "Today, we're here to listen to each other and to work together towards solutions that benefit our community." As he speaks, he notices the diverse faces in the audience, young and old, immigrants and longtime residents, each carrying their own stories and experiences. The first speaker, a young activist named Jamal, takes the microphone. "We need to address the violence in our neighborhoods," he states, his voice passionate. "Our youth are caught in the crossfire, and we must find a way to keep them safe." His words spark a lively discussion, with audience members sharing their experiences and proposing solutions. Marcus watches as the dialogue flows, witnessing the power of collective voices coming together. Throughout the forum, attendees raise various issues, from police accountability to access to affordable housing. Each speaker adds to the tapestry of concerns, highlighting the interconnectedness of their struggles. Marcus facilitates the discussion, encouraging participants to listen to one another and explore common ground. He feels a sense of hope as he sees people who might otherwise never interact engaging in meaningful conversations. As the forum progresses, Marcus introduces local officials, inviting them to respond to the community's concerns. He emphasizes the importance of accountability and transparency, urging officials to engage with residents in addressing their needs. The officials listen attentively, taking notes and promising to follow up on the issues raised. Marcus knows that building trust will take time, but he is encouraged by the willingness of some officials to engage with the community. In the weeks following the first forum, Marcus reflects on the feedback he received. Many participants expressed gratitude for the opportunity to share their voices and connect with one another. However, he also recognizes that not all community members feel comfortable attending such events, particularly those who have experienced trauma or discrimination. He decides to create smaller, more intimate discussion groups to reach those individuals and ensure that all voices are heard. These smaller groups focus on specific topics such as youth violence, housing insecurity, and police relations. Marcus works to create a safe and supportive environment, emphasizing that everyone's experiences are valid and worthy of discussion. He partners with local mental health professionals to provide support for participants who may be grappling with trauma. During one of these intimate discussions, Marcus meets with a group of mothers from the neighborhood, all of whom are concerned about the safety of their children. As they sit in a circle, one mother, Elena, shares her fear of letting her son walk to school. "I worry every day that he'll be stopped by the police just for being a young black boy," she confides, her voice breaking. "I understand your fears, Elena," Marcus responds, his heart heavy with empathy. "No parent should have to live with that anxiety. We need to work together to ensure our children are safe and protected." This conversation becomes a turning point for him, illuminating the urgency of their concerns and the need for systemic change. Motivated by these discussions, Marcus takes steps to address the safety concerns raised by parents. He collaborates with local law enforcement to establish a community policing initiative aimed at building trust between officers and residents. The initiative focuses on proactive engagement, encouraging officers to participate in community events and establish relationships with residents, particularly youth. To kick off the initiative, Marcus organizes a police and community day at a local park where residents can meet officers in a relaxed setting. The event features games, food, and activities for children, fostering a sense of community. On the day of the event, Marcus greets attendees, feeling a sense of anticipation in the air. As families arrive, he notices the initial hesitance among some residents, but as the day unfolds, the atmosphere shifts. Children play games with officers and parents engage in conversations, sharing their hopes and concerns. Marcus observes a breakthrough moment when a young boy approaches a police officer, excitedly showing off his baseball skills. The officer kneels down, complimenting the boy and asking about his favorite players. Later in the day, Marcus gathers everyone for a community discussion, inviting both residents and officers to share their experiences. A local youth leader named Tarek stands up, speaking candidly. "We want to feel safe, but we need to know that you see us as people, not just suspects," he says, looking directly at the officers. His honesty resonates with the crowd, and Marcus feels a wave of solidarity among attendees. One of the officers responds, expressing his commitment to understanding the community's concerns. "I want to be a part of the solution," he states, his sincerity evident. "I'm here to listen and to learn from you." This exchange marks a pivotal moment in the community policing initiative, as both residents and officers begin to bridge the gap of mistrust that has long existed. In the months that follow, Marcus continues to facilitate dialogue between the community and local authorities. He organizes follow-up forums to assess the impact of the police initiative and to discuss additional concerns raised by residents. Through these forums, he witnesses the gradual transformation of relationships, with community members feeling increasingly empowered to share their voices. As the community begins to unite around common goals, Marcus realizes the importance of showcasing their achievements. He decides to create a community newsletter that highlights successes, updates on initiatives, and upcoming events. He believes that celebrating progress will foster a sense of pride and motivation among residents, encouraging further engagement. The first issue of the newsletter features stories of residents who have taken an active role in advocacy, including a spotlight on the young leaders emerging from the youth program he helped establish. Marcus also includes updates on the community policing initiative and upcoming forums, inviting everyone to participate. He distributes the newsletter through various channels, ensuring it reaches a wide audience. As the newsletter gains traction, Marcus receives positive feedback from residents. They express appreciation for the visibility of their efforts and the opportunity to celebrate their achievements. Marcus feels a renewed sense of purpose, recognizing that storytelling and communication are powerful tools for community building. Inspired by the success of the newsletter, he decides to host an annual Community Celebration Day, a festival to honor the progress made and to strengthen relationships among residents, local organizations, and officials. The event includes music, food, games, and booths showcasing local resources and organizations. Marcus envisions it as a day of unity, where everyone can come together to celebrate their achievements and reinforce their commitment to ongoing advocacy. As the planning for Community Celebration Day unfolds, Marcus encounters logistical challenges, from securing funding to coordinating volunteers. However, he is undeterred, believing that the event will galvanize the community. He reaches out to local businesses for sponsorship and partners with organizations to provide resources and support. On the day of the celebration, the park is filled with laughter, music, and vibrant colors. Families gather, children run freely, and community leaders connect with residents. Marcus walks through the crowd, feeling a sense of fulfillment wash over him as he observes the bonds forming among individuals from different backgrounds. During the event, Marcus takes the stage to address the crowd. "Today, we celebrate not just our achievements, but our shared commitment to each other," he proclaims, his voice resonating with passion. "Together, we can continue to build a community where everyone feels safe, valued, and heard." The crowd erupts in applause, and Marcus feels the energy of collective hope and determination. As the sun sets on the celebration, Marcus reflects on the journey he has taken as an advocate for his community. He understands that the work is far from over, but he is heartened by the progress made. Through building bridges, fostering dialogue, and amplifying voices, he has witnessed the transformative power of community activism. In the months and years to come, Marcus continues to advocate for systemic change, focusing on policy reform and engaging with local leaders to address the root causes of injustice. He remains steadfast in his belief that collaboration and empathy are essential to achieving lasting change. His experiences reinforce the idea that every individual's voice matters and that together, they can create a brighter, more equitable future for all. Through perseverance and collaboration, Judge Marcus Lewis not only transforms his own life, but also inspires those around him to take action. His journey highlights the importance of empathy, understanding, and collective action in the pursuit of justice. As he navigates the complexities of community activism, he remains dedicated to the belief that when individuals come together to amplify their voices, they can drive meaningful change in their communities and beyond. As Judge Marcus Lewis delves deeper into his role as a community advocate, he becomes increasingly aware of the systemic injustices that plague the legal system. His experiences on the bench have revealed troubling patterns, disparities in sentencing, racial bias in arrests, and a lack of access to legal resources for marginalized communities. These injustices fuel his desire to advocate for meaningful reform, aiming to create a more equitable legal landscape. Marcus understands that advocacy begins with education. He decides to organize a series of workshops aimed at educating community members about their rights within the legal system. He believes that knowledge is power, and by equipping individuals with information, he can empower them to navigate the complexities of the law more effectively. The workshops cover various topics, including criminal justice procedures, civil rights, and the importance of legal representation. To kick off the initiative, Marcus partners with local law schools and legal aid organizations. Together, they create a curriculum designed to address the specific needs of the community. He promotes the workshops through flyers, social media, and word of mouth, hoping to attract a diverse audience. On the day of the first workshop, he arrives early, setting up the room and preparing materials for participants. As attendees filter in, Marcus greets them warmly, eager to create a welcoming atmosphere. The workshop begins with an overview of the legal system, emphasizing the rights of individuals in various situations. He presents real-life scenarios to illustrate key points, encouraging participants to engage and ask questions. One participant, a young woman named Maya, raises her hand and shares her frustration with being treated unfairly by law enforcement. "I feel like my voice doesn't matter when I'm confronted by police. What can I do?" Maya asks, her eyes filled with concern. "Your voice absolutely matters, Maya," Marcus responds, his tone reassuring. "It's essential to remember that you have rights, and it's okay to assert them. Today, we're here to ensure that you know how to do that effectively." He spends time addressing her concerns, emphasizing the importance of documenting interactions with law enforcement and seeking legal representation when needed. Throughout the workshop series, Marcus witnesses a transformation among participants. They become more engaged and vocal about their experiences, sharing stories of encounters with the legal system that have left them feeling powerless. Marcus encourages open dialogue, allowing participants to express their frustrations and fears without judgment. In one session, a participant named James shares his story of being wrongfully arrested. "I was stopped for no reason, and they didn't even listen to me when I tried to explain," he recalls, his voice tinged with anger. "It felt like my life didn't matter at all." Marcus listens intently, validating James's feelings and discussing the importance of community advocacy in holding law enforcement accountable. As the workshops progress, Marcus also addresses the need for systemic change. He highlights the racial disparities that exist within the legal system, particularly in sentencing and incarceration rates. He emphasizes that these issues are not merely individual failures, but are indicative of a broader societal problem that demands collective action. He encourages participants to advocate for policy changes that promote justice and equity. To further this mission, Marcus partners with advocacy organizations that focus on criminal justice reform. Together, they develop a campaign aimed at raising awareness about racial disparities in sentencing and the need for comprehensive reform. The campaign includes community forums, social media outreach, and partnerships with local leaders to amplify their message. One of the campaign's key initiatives is the Justice for All rally, designed to mobilize the community around the cause of justice reform. Marcus believes that a united front will send a powerful message to lawmakers and the public about the urgent need for change. He organizes a planning committee comprised of community members, activists, and legal professionals to ensure that diverse voices are represented in the campaign. As the planning progresses, Marcus reaches out to various speakers for the rally, including individuals who have been directly affected by the legal system. He understands that personal stories are a potent way to humanize the issues and resonate with the audience. He spends hours listening to the experiences of these individuals, crafting their narratives into powerful testimonies that highlight the urgent need for reform. The day of the Justice for All rally arrives, and Marcus feels a mix of excitement and nervousness as he stands at the podium, overlooking the crowd gathered in the park. Thousands of community members have come together, united by a shared vision of justice and equity. The atmosphere is charged with energy as people hold signs bearing messages like "End racial injustice" and "Justice for all." Marcus begins his speech by acknowledging the crowd's courage in standing up for their rights. "Today, we gather not just to speak, but to demand change. We are here to advocate for a justice system that truly serves all members of our community, regardless of their race, background, or circumstances," he proclaims, his voice resonating with conviction. As he speaks, he reflects on the stories of individuals he has met throughout his advocacy journey. He recounts Maya's story, James's wrongful arrest, and others who have bravely shared their experiences. He emphasizes that these stories are not isolated incidents. They are part of a larger narrative that demands attention. Marcus highlights the importance of collective action, urging attendees to stay engaged beyond the rally. "Our work does not end today. We must continue to advocate for policy changes, to hold our leaders accountable, and to support one another in this fight for justice," he urges. The crowd erupts in cheers, their energy palpable as they respond to his call to action. Following the rally, Marcus and the planning committee organize a series of follow-up meetings to discuss actionable steps for advocating for change. They focus on building coalitions with local leaders, lawmakers, and community organizations to push for reform at the municipal and state levels. Marcus emphasizes the importance of sustained advocacy, reminding participants that change takes time and persistence. In these meetings, Marcus works to identify specific policy proposals that address the systemic issues raised during the rally. They explore measures such as reforming sentencing guidelines, increasing funding for public defenders, and implementing community oversight boards for law enforcement. Marcus encourages participants to share their insights and expertise, fostering a collaborative atmosphere where everyone's voice is valued. Recognizing the importance of research and data in advocacy, Marcus collaborates with local universities to conduct studies on racial disparities in the legal system. These studies aim to provide concrete evidence of the issues at hand, bolstering their advocacy efforts with factual information. He believes that data-driven approaches will resonate with policymakers and strengthen their case for reform. As the months pass, Marcus continues to engage with the community, attending meetings, forums, and events. He remains visible and accessible, emphasizing his commitment to being a champion for justice. He also encourages participants to take ownership of the advocacy efforts, empowering them to lead initiatives and organize events within their own neighborhoods. Through these efforts, Marcus witnesses a gradual shift in the community's engagement with the legal system. Individuals begin to speak out more boldly, challenging injustices and advocating for their rights. The empowerment he has sought to cultivate is evident as community members mobilize to demand change, becoming active participants in shaping their own futures. One pivotal moment occurs when a group of young activists approaches Marcus with a proposal for a youth-led initiative focused on educating their peers about their rights. They express a desire to create a mentorship program that connects older community members with younger individuals, fostering a sense of solidarity and empowerment. Marcus is inspired by their initiative, recognizing the potential for intergenerational collaboration in the pursuit of justice. Together, they develop a curriculum for the mentorship program, combining legal education with discussions on social justice and advocacy. Marcus facilitates training sessions for the mentors, providing them with tools to engage effectively with their ments. The program becomes a vibrant space for dialogue, where young people share their experiences, concerns, and aspirations. As the mentorship program gains traction, Marcus reflects on the transformative power of community advocacy. He recognizes that change is not solely about policy reform. It is also about building relationships and fostering a culture of empowerment. The program nurtures a sense of agency among young people, equipping them with the knowledge and confidence to navigate the legal system and advocate for their rights. As Marcus's advocacy efforts expand, he becomes increasingly involved in statewide initiatives focused on criminal justice reform. He collaborates with organizations advocating for policy changes at the legislative level, leveraging his experience and connections to amplify their message. He testifies before legislative committees, sharing personal stories and data that highlight the urgent need for reform. Through these experiences, Marcus gains insight into the political landscape surrounding criminal justice reform. He learns how to navigate the complexities of lobbying for change, understanding the importance of building relationships with lawmakers and influencing public opinion. His commitment to advocacy only deepens as he recognizes the profound impact that policy changes can have on the lives of individuals within his community. As he works on a statewide campaign to address racial disparities in sentencing, Marcus collaborates with legal experts, community organizations, and impacted individuals to draft comprehensive reform proposals. They focus on measures that prioritize rehabilitation over punishment, aiming to create a more equitable legal system that addresses the root causes of crime. Throughout this process, Marcus remains steadfast in his belief that justice must be pursued collaboratively. He emphasizes the importance of inclusivity, ensuring that marginalized voices are represented in the advocacy efforts. He recognizes that true change can only occur when the community is at the forefront of the conversation. In the culmination of his efforts, Marcus finds himself in the halls of the state capitol, advocating for the reform proposals he has worked tirelessly to develop. He meets with lawmakers, sharing the stories of individuals impacted by the system and urging them to support the proposed changes. With each conversation, he feels after months of tireless advocacy, courtroom battles, and community engagement, Judge Marcus Lewis stands at the precipice of a new chapter in his life. He has fought valiantly for justice, advocating for systemic change in the legal system, particularly concerning racial disparities and community relations with law enforcement. The recent legislative successes, while significant, serve as both a validation of his efforts and a reminder of the long road ahead. As he prepares to return to his courtroom, Marcus reflects deeply on his journey, the lessons learned, and the responsibilities that lie ahead. The drive back to the courthouse is filled with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Marcus recalls his earlier days on the bench, where he often felt constrained by the very system he now seeks to reform. His experiences in the community have changed his perspective profoundly. He understands now that justice is not merely a legal construct, but a lived reality for the people he serves. The weight of this realization sits heavily on his shoulders as he contemplates how he will approach his role as a judge moving forward. Upon arriving at the courthouse, Marcus is greeted warmly by his colleagues and staff. The atmosphere is different. There is a palpable sense of hope and determination in the air. His recent advocacy efforts have inspired many within the courthouse, igniting conversations about the need for change and the importance of community involvement in the judicial process. Marcus feels a renewed sense of purpose as he steps into his chambers, ready to embrace his responsibilities with a fresh perspective. One of the first cases on his docket is a young man named Eric, who is facing charges related to a nonviolent crime. As Marcus reviews the case file, he is reminded of the stories shared during the community workshops, stories of individuals who felt marginalized and unheard. This time, however, he is determined to approach the case with a focus on rehabilitation rather than punishment. He reflects on the importance of understanding the context behind Eric's actions, recognizing that the young man's environment and circumstances play a significant role in shaping his decisions. During the court proceedings, Marcus takes the opportunity to engage with Eric directly. Instead of solely addressing the charges, he asks questions that delve into the young man's background, aspirations, and the challenges he faces. "Tell me about your goals, Eric," Marcus prompts, genuinely interested in understanding the individual before him. The young man's eyes widen, surprised by the judge's willingness to listen. "I want to go to college and become a mechanic," Eric replies, his voice barely above a whisper. "But it feels impossible with everything that's happened." Marcus nods, recognizing the fear and uncertainty that often accompany young people from marginalized backgrounds. "It's not impossible," he reassures Eric, "but we need to find a way to support you in achieving that goal." Let's discuss options for community service and mentorship programs that can help you stay on track. By integrating restorative justice principles into his approach, Marcus creates an environment where individuals can feel seen and valued, rather than merely being defined by their offenses. He knows that this shift in perspective is crucial, not just for Eric, but for all individuals who enter his courtroom. As the day unfolds, Marcus encounters various cases that reinforce his commitment to justice reform. Each interaction provides an opportunity to apply the lessons he has learned through his advocacy work. He engages with defendants and victims alike, striving to create a dialogue that acknowledges the complexities of each situation. This approach resonates deeply with those in his courtroom, and he begins to notice a shift in the atmosphere, a growing sense of trust and respect between the judge and those who come before him. However, Marcus also faces challenges that test his resolve. Not all colleagues share his vision for reform, and he encounters resistance from those who believe in maintaining the status quo. During a meeting with fellow judges, a heated discussion arises regarding sentencing practices. Some express concerns about softening the judicial approach, arguing that strict penalties are necessary to deter crime. Marcus, armed with data and personal experiences, counters their arguments with a calm and resolute demeanor. "We need to recognize that punitive measures often do not address the root causes of crime," he states firmly. "Many individuals who come before us are products of systemic inequalities. If we want to effect real change, we must be willing to explore alternatives to incarceration." The conversation is tense, with some judges dismissing his perspective outright. Yet, Marcus remains steadfast in his beliefs, understanding that change often requires confronting uncomfortable truths. He vows to continue advocating for a more compassionate approach to justice, even when faced with opposition. Outside the courtroom, Marcus's influence extends beyond individual cases. He continues to engage with community organizations and local leaders, advocating for initiatives that promote social equity. One of his most ambitious projects is the establishment of a mentorship program for at-risk youth, designed to provide guidance and support to young people navigating the challenges of their environment. He envisions a network of mentors, community leaders, educators, and professionals who can serve as positive role models and resources for those in need. As the mentorship program begins to take shape, Marcus organizes training sessions for potential mentors, emphasizing the importance of empathy, understanding, and active listening. He believes that mentorship can be a transformative experience for both mentors and ments, fostering connections that empower individuals to overcome obstacles and achieve their goals. During one training session, Marcus shares his own story, discussing the challenges he faced as a young man and the mentors who guided him along the way. "I wouldn't be here without the support of those who believed in me," he reflects, encouraging mentors to share their own journeys. The room is filled with a sense of camaraderie as individuals bond over their shared experiences, each recognizing the power of mentorship in shaping lives. As the program launches, Marcus feels a surge of hope as he witnesses the connections forming between mentors and ments. He attends various events, celebrating milestones and offering encouragement to participants. The positive impact of mentorship becomes evident as he observes young people gaining confidence, setting goals, and envisioning brighter futures. Despite the successes, Marcus also grapples with the emotional toll of his work. He often reflects on the stories of individuals who have been affected by systemic injustices, those who did not receive the support they needed or who fell through the cracks of the legal system. This weight can be overwhelming, and Marcus finds solace in speaking openly about his struggles with colleagues and friends. During a gathering with fellow judges, Marcus opens up about the emotional challenges he faces. "It's hard to bear the weight of these stories, knowing that so many are still suffering," he admits, his voice filled with vulnerability. "I want to do more, but sometimes it feels like the odds are stacked against us. His honesty resonates with others, prompting a candid discussion about the emotional toll of their roles as judges. Together, they explore strategies for coping with the stresses of their profession, emphasizing the importance of self-care and seeking support when needed. Marcus realizes that fostering a sense of community among his peers is essential, not only for their well-being but also for their ability to effect meaningful change. As time goes on, Marcus's commitment to justice reform attracts attention beyond his local community. He is invited to speak at national conferences and forums focused on criminal justice issues, sharing his experiences and advocating for systemic change. These opportunities allow him to connect with like-minded individuals and organizations, forging alliances that strengthen the movement for justice reform. While he appreciates the recognition, Marcus remains grounded in his mission. He knows that the fight for justice is ongoing, and he is committed to being a voice for those who have been silenced. He continues to prioritize community engagement, recognizing that change must come from the grassroots level. He attends town hall meetings, engages with community leaders, and listens to the concerns of residents, ensuring that their voices are at the forefront of advocacy efforts. One significant event on the horizon is the annual Justice for All Community Summit, which Marcus has spearheaded since its inception. The summit serves as a platform for individuals and organizations to come together, share ideas, and collaborate on initiatives that promote justice and equity. As the event approaches, Marcus feels a sense of excitement mixed with anxiety. He knows that this year's summit will be particularly important, given the recent legislative victories and the momentum building around justice reform. On the day of the summit, the venue is bustling with energy as attendees gather from diverse backgrounds, united by a shared vision for a more equitable society. Marcus opens the event with a heartfelt speech, reflecting on the progress made and the challenges that remain. Today, we gather not just to celebrate our achievements, but to recommit ourselves to the work that lies ahead, he states, his passion igniting the crowd. Throughout the summit, participants engage in workshops, panel discussions, and networking sessions, fostering connections that can lead to collaborative efforts in their respective communities. Marcus circulates among the attendees, sharing insights and encouraging dialogue. He is particularly moved by the stories shared by individuals who have experienced the justice system firsthand, each narrative reinforcing his commitment to advocacy. One poignant moment occurs during a breakout session focused on mental health and the legal system. A young woman named Sarah shares her experience of navigating the system after a traumatic encounter with law enforcement. "I felt completely alone and lost," she admits, her voice trembling. "I didn't know where to turn or who to trust." As she speaks, Marcus feels a deep sense of empathy. He recognizes the importance of addressing not only the legal aspects of individuals' experiences, but also their emotional and psychological well-being. After the session, he approaches Sarah, offering support and resources to help her navigate the challenges she faces. "You are not alone in this," he assures her. "There are people who care and want to help." As the summit concludes, Marcus feels a renewed sense of hope and determination. The connections made, the stories shared, and the commitments forged during the event serve as a powerful reminder of the collective strength that emerges when individuals come together for a common purpose. He leaves the summit inspired, ready to continue his work with even greater fervor. In the weeks that follow, Marcus reflects on the progress he has made since returning to the bench. He remains dedicated to implementing restorative justice practices, engaging with the community, and advocating for systemic reform. Each case, each conversation, and each moment of connection reinforces his belief in the power of justice as a tool for healing and transformation. Ultimately, Judge Marcus Lewis understands that the journey is far from over. While he has made significant strides in promoting justice and equity, he recognizes the ongoing challenges that persist within the legal system. With each passing day, he is reminded of the individuals whose lives are impacted by the choices made within the courtroom. He remains steadfast in his commitment to creating a more just and equitable society, knowing that his work is not only about the law but about the people he serves. As he prepares for the next chapter of his journey, Marcus carries with him the lessons learned, the stories shared, and the unwavering belief that change is possible. He is a judge transformed, not just by the title he holds, but by the understanding that justice is not a destination but a continuous journey. With each decision he makes, he strives to honor the humanity of those who come before him, ensuring that their voices are heard and their experiences valued. In his heart, Marcus knows that true justice extends beyond the walls of the courtroom. It is a commitment to uplifting communities, advocating for those who have been marginalized, and fostering a society where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. As he embraces the challenges ahead, he does so with a sense of purpose and a determination to return to the community changed, not just for himself, but for all those who seek justice.
Disclaimer: this channel does not support or tolerate any form of discrimination, racism, prejudice, or violation of human rights. The stories presented here are original and created by the author with the aim of promoting reflection, awareness, and dialogue. All content is developed with respect for diversity and the dignity of all people.